And so I am going to share my screen here. And I'm going to show everybody Blackboard. A few of you have gotten on the Blackboard already. If you would like to follow along with the syllabus as I'm talking, there's a tab on the left-hand side that syllabus. I just learned how to do Bitmoji. I won't overuse them, but I think they're kind of fun. You can find the syllabus down at the bottom of that after that Bitmoji that I created. So there's a docx form and a PDF. And so if your computer doesn't work well with Microsoft or .x, if you have a Chromebook and it can't download, look at this PDF. They're exactly the same file. They're just different. So I'm going to be going over this. If you want to follow along with me, if you have the ability to, print it off, if you want to do something like that. Otherwise, I'm going to be putting the syllabus up on my computer, just like this. This picture isn't there. I just added that in this morning. And I made the only difference between this, what I'm showing you now, and that file on Blackboard is that I make the font a little bit bigger for everybody to follow along with me today. And I added this picture so I wouldn't have to hold up a textbook awkwardly. So I'm just going to talk about the syllabus as I would normally in the classroom. Again, if you do have a question, put it in the chat and I can answer it later. So again, this is English 101. We're going to meet every Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 9:15. We are going to be online. This is a synchronous class. It means we're meeting online at the times that we're normally scheduled to be in the physical classroom. So 8 to 9:15. I'm going to log on at 8 o'clock. Please try your best to be on time. I'm going to start at 8 o'clock. I'll talk about the attendance policy later on too. This is my email. So if you ever need to contact me via email, you could just copy and paste that or start typing it in, but it won't go away. I don't have an office. I never really did have an office, being part-time, and so that really hasn't changed. Of course, I don't plan on being campus, but office hours are by appointment. Again, this hasn't changed at all in the 4 years I've taught because I am part-time. I've never had an office. I've never had office hours because I'm all over the place. Literally, I have a class that ends at 1:45 for our college, and then at 2 o'clock, I'm going to switch over to Zoom for another college. So my schedule is a little bit crazy. But again, if you need me to Zoom or Google Meet, chat, or have an email session or something with you, very happy to do that. Just let me know and we can schedule that. The textbook you'll need for this class is Bedford Guide for College Writing. I have a picture of this, so if you picked it up and it doesn't look like this, you'll need that. What's important about this textbook is you'll need the research manual and handbook, not only the reader. So later on in the semester, we'll be doing a lot with research, and it will be helpful to have that there as a guide. Even if we don't have specifically readings from it, it will be extremely helpful to have that information, especially if this is your first time or you need a refresher of MLA format. Down here, I have an index, and this would normally just be page 1. I just made it a little bit bigger. This is going to hopefully make it easy for you to find everything. The page numbers are going to be a little bit wonky right now because I made it bigger, but on your copy of the syllabus, this would just be page 1, and it tells you what everything is on there. And I tried to frame almost everything as a question. So if you had a question, how the class use Blackboard, you can, or how we will use peer review, you can kind of jump down to that page and look at that. And so not everything's a question because some of these are just verbatim from Jeffco, but what I'm including is my policies. Those are going to be questions. And so if you ever need a guide, are confused of something, don't know what to do, have no idea how to read the syllabus, your first stop is going to be this index, and then you can find the page number hopefully a little bit more easily. Course description and goals. We're going to write a lot. So this is English class. We're going to read and write. One semester I had a student on the end of the semester teaching evaluations say, this is an English class, but we read and rewrote a lot. I didn't understand that. This is what we're going to do. This is an English class. We're going to read and we're going to write. Hopefully we'll be able to do some in-class writing or exercises. Kind of my hope. We'll figure out kind of how it's going along the way. Just like I would do it in person. We're going to do the writing process, which means planning and composing and revising and editing. So not just writing the first draft and then turning it in, but that's why we're going to do a lot of peer review, helping with that, analyzing and critical thinking. We're going to look at model essays. I've been teaching this class for 4 years. I have a plethora of examples for everybody. So we'll look at least one per essay, if not more, if needed. And then research. Let's just talk about research. We'll deal with MLA format, and we'll practice that all throughout the semester. Coursework overview. We'll write 3 essays overall. They will be the majority of your grade. As the semester goes on, they will be worth more points, and they will also increase in length. So the first paper is going to be the shortest, last paper is going to be the longest, first paper is going to be worth the least, last paper is going to be worth the most. And I do that intentionally, so as you all learn, it's worth more. And so if you learn a certain skill, you're going to be, graded on it more as you're learning that skill more and more. Complex book entries, I'm going to talk about this a lot more during Thursday's class, but it's an assignment that I'm assuming most everybody has never heard of before. But these are going to be assignments that are due right before class starts. So they're going to be due at 7:59 a.m. on the day that they're due, and I have the schedule at the bottom of the syllabus that you can look at for due dates. But essentially, I will assign a reading, either in the textbook or I'll have that on Blackboard under the Readings tab. And you'll read it. You'll cite the source in MLA format, and we'll go over MLA format on Thursday to kind of help you out if you don't know much about it. You'll find one quote from that reading that interests you and engage in it in at least a paragraph. And then you're also going to analyze audience and purpose. So I'm going to talk about those 2 words a lot more on Thursday, just so I have time to kind of finish this syllabus here, talk about it. But audience, meaning who is the audience of the piece, of who is it intended for, and the purpose being what's the point of the piece, not necessarily what's their argument, but why are they writing it? What do they want that audience to get out of? And the reason for doing this, we're going to talk about audience awareness and purpose a lot. It's especially going to be important in our first paper, but it's going to be important throughout the entire semester. So really getting that habit of asking those questions is going to be helpful. But those entries are going to be due right before class starts, again, 7:59 a.m. And so we can talk about them more, and you already kind of have an idea of what the reading was about before we start talking about it in class. Each paper will have a smaller invention, just to kind of help you with that major essay. It'll be a smaller assignment, not a full-length essay. It'll be worthless grade-wise, but it's just going to be there to help you. Have an annotated bibliography, which will help with the 3rd paper. That's in regards to the research. And at the end of the semester, you'll have a final portfolio. This will be due kind of when the final exam would be. We're not going to take tests in this class. I hate tests. I think that's like probably 10% of the reason why I became an English major back in the day when I was an undergrad. But I don't like tests. Memorizing something is not going to be necessarily as helpful for this class. So again, we're going to do a lot of critical thinking, which is more difficult than just memorizing something. So in a way, a test would be easier, but I don't think it would necessarily result in learning. I think the only thing that would be helpful for is maybe like MLA format. But we're going to talk about that on Thursday. Peer review, we'll do peer review. I'm going to be using Google Docs for that. The great thing about Jeffco is we have Google. So this is Google Meets. All of us have access to Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Classroom, all through our Jeffco email. And so you don't have to use a personal email to do it or create a different account or do anything like that. Just using your Jeffco account. And I will have a day where I kind of go over peer review a lot more and helping everybody understand that. But before class, you'll email me your essay, and then I'll put you in groups, and then we'll have that class period to answer very specific questions. I'll have a question guide, and you'll be able to kind of go back and forth and comment on each writing. And so that will be a little bit helpful. But each paper will have breakout groups, so I'll kind of talk to each other while you're doing it if you want to. This can be very interactive. I think this has the potential to be very interactive and helpful for everybody in learning what they're doing. But we will do peer review. Blackboard, I'm going to have everything on Blackboard. I'm going to actually move over there right now. But everything from assignment sheets to readings, except the ones in the textbook, are going to be on Blackboard. You're going to submit assignments on Blackboard. Let me see here. Where's Blackboard? Here, I'm on it right here. Okay, so I just talked about earlier, you can find your syllabus down here. So if you missed that, what I said, you can download the syllabus. Google Meet, Classroom access information. I have the link that you probably all used for today. I also sent everybody an invite for the same information when I sent everybody an invite yesterday. Some of you accepted it, and so we have that here. I know one person said they're looking for a code. I will try to find that later today. I have another class after this, but I'm going to try and find it later today because I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to figure it out. There's also this really cool feature. It's a plugin. I don't know if everybody's computer can use that, but it's a plugin. It's called Not Extension. And if you do that, what you can do is you can kind of raise your hand. So if you have a question, you can just kind of, you want to talk, you want to unmute yourself, you can just raise your hand for Not Extension. So I'm not requiring that you download that. But if everybody downloads it, you can kind of see. If you do want to use it, I have it. So if you do kind of download it, raise your hand. I don't even think you have to download it. It's just an extension to Chrome. So you can kind of do that, and then there's a little raise your hand feature. So not required, but it could be fun and helpful for everybody. Complex book entries, like I just said a moment ago, these are where you're going to submit them. So I have all 6 of them up here right now. I'll talk about this more in depth on Thursday, but the first one, for example, is due on Tuesday. I have everything here laid out. The first one I have the specific requirements. This would be the same as the assignment sheet. And it's every one of them is going to say when it's due, so the date and the time and the reading you need to look at. And so this would be Tuesday, August 25th. So that's next Tuesday by 7:59 a.m. by Bedford Guide for College Writers, Chapter 4, Recalling an Experience. And that's the textbook. So it would be Chapter 4 out of the textbook. And so just like this, Tuesday, August 27th, under the Readings tab. So if you forget where you would find this, it would be under the Readings tab. And so you would just click on the link right there and hit Create Journal Entry. And then you would type your assignment in that little text box there, and then like put Complex Book Entry number 1 or something on the title. It's just easier for me to see everything if it's in the text box. Journal entry means that only I will see your writing. If this was a discussion board, that would mean that everybody could see everybody else's response, but journal means only I can see it, and then we'll talk about it during the class period. So there will be times during the class, beginning the semester, where I put a journal entry up, and I might say, respond to this for a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, and I would ask you to submit a journal entry on Blackboard. And this is a reason why on Saturday, the email I sent everybody, I suggested actually being at a computer, because if you put up during class, I'm going to have you guys at some point, not every class, but I have a journal link here. Respond to this in about a paragraph or so, and then you'll submit it. And the reason I will do that on Blackboard is because Jefferson College they are taking attendance through what you have submitted on Blackboard. And so not only is that going to be something similar that I would do in a class, I would normally say, take a few minutes and jot this down on a piece of paper. This would be on a journal entry on Blackboard, and then you would get attendance for it while we're in the classroom. And so that would be that. I have assigned readings, and so I have 2 different types of readings. I have assigned readings and in-class readings. Assigned reading is going to be anything for a complex book entry. Okay, so that's going to be anything that I have provided on Blackboard that you don't have in your textbook, and then you can find it on Blackboard. So this is the reading for next Thursday, and then those 2 are the ones for later on. And so if you can't find a reading, it's not in the textbook, it's going to be on here under assigned readings. In-class readings, this is for Thursday. I'm going to have anything that I have us read in the classroom, meaning during class period, and it's not going to be having to read outside of class. So assigned readings, outside of class, in class, in-class readings during the class session. Same with assignments. So assignments is going to be any assignment that you're doing outside of class, such as a major essay or an invention. And I don't have them available yet because I haven't assigned them, so I don't want anybody to get ahead of themselves. I have the complex book entry assignment sheet that I'm going to talk about more on Thursday. So if anybody does want to look at that ahead of time, they can. I do have the, if you have the textbook already, you can kind of start looking at the assignment for Tuesday, although you definitely don't have to. And then in-class activities, I don't think we're going to have time to do this, but I'm going to try to. And so if I have any in-class activities like the journal I just talked about, that's what they will be. And then when I record classes, I will download them here and I will put the date of where it is. So if your audio went out during class and you couldn't hear anything anymore, or you just couldn't come to class for whatever reason, that's going to be put right here. As I said at the top of the class period, I'm not going to record everything for today. For example, I didn't record the introductions. I just recorded this time here that I'm talking about the syllabus. So anytime I'm kind of lecturing that we're not having the discussion, I will record. But if we're doing in-class writing or reading, I won't be recording that. So not everything is going to be a lecture. Actually, most of the class this semester is not going to be me talking to you through lecture. It's going to be facilitation of discussion. So because nobody wants to hear my voice for an hour and 15 minutes twice a week entirely. So I do want to kind of hear from everybody else as well. So I'm going to go back here. Anybody, let's see, where's my Google Meet? Have questions about the Blackboard or anything? I don't see any questions in the chat or anything, but does anybody have questions about Blackboard? Okay. Don't see anything. If you do, please put that in the chat, and I can get back to it at the end of the class. But I will kind of return to the syllabus here. I have email. Email is going to be really important. Email is important even if we were in the physical classroom. I'm not going to lie. Email is so important. If there is a time where I don't get an assignment, if there's a point where I'm changing a deadline, or if I just want to remind everybody of something, I'm going to email you. There could be a chance, the link doesn't work in Google Meet and I have to change it. I would email everybody that. So everything's going to be really dependent on email. I sent everybody an email on Saturday telling everybody the Blackboard shell was open. And I sent everybody an email on Monday having an invite for this link. And so if you didn't get those emails, I know it was before the semester started, make it a habit. I require everybody to check their email at least once every weekday. Doesn't take long. I have it attached to my phone. It's not a requirement. You don't have to do that. I had to check my email a lot. So if you email me, during regular hours, not like midnight, I'm not going to be awake at that time. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible, but I have this on my syllabus. It has required everybody to check their email at least once a day. So when I send out an email to the class, I'm assuming everybody has gotten it. Okay, so making sure you check your email at least once every weekday, if not more, if you feel comfortable, because that's how I'm going to communicate with you. So make sure you're doing that. How should I submit my work? So everything's going to be submitted on Blackboard. Again, like I said earlier, if we're in class, I'm going to say go to this link and do this. But if you're turning in a complex book entry, that's going to be under the complex book entry tab. If you're turning in any other assignment, such as an essay, it's going to be under the assignments tab. And participation, that's going to be, discussions, that in-class writing I was talking about. While the college is going to grade your attendance via those journal entries or anything you submit on Blackboard, for this class, that's going to be participation. So not the essay assignment you submit outside of class that you do that. But if I say, okay, spend 5-10 minutes responding to this prompt, and that submission of that's going to be participation in addition to any discussion we have. So if your mic's not working, putting something in the chat, or if it is working, talking to me verbally, unmuting your mic and saying something. And so most classes are probably going to have some component of that, just like we would in the physical classroom. Just you being a little bit different on Google Meets. And so some type of discussion has to be occurring. I love that people kind of jumped today and said, I'm going to introduce myself. That's fantastic. And so kind of, if your mic's not working, I completely understand. I get it. Technology can be wonderful sometimes. I say that with sarcasm. But that participation, the submission of those in-class discussions on Blackboard, in addition to conversation in the actual classroom. And Google Meet etiquette, I said this at the top of the class, but in case you came in late or you missed it, 2 things that I'm requiring for this class for Google Meet. If you're not talking, please have your computer on mute. Please mute yourself. Unmute yourself only if you're talking, so there's not all that background noise. And I don't care if you share your screen or not. That's completely your choice. If you do share your screen, just make sure you're closed. That's all. I think that's really simple, but I know I'm going to get into potentially get into a situation where that's a problem. So I don't care what people wear. There was that one thing, some school came out and said, I can't wear pajamas. I don't care if you wear pajamas or not. I don't care. Just have something on. Attendance policy. This was, so Jeff Coe's attendance policy up here. You kind of read that yourself. I kind of adapted it to become my attendance policy. So it is required that you come to these meetings. If you're sick, of course, or something happens, I get it. The world is weird right now, but I do have this kind of in general. I do want you all to know that you should be coming to these class sessions just as if you were to come to class in the classroom. Like it's no different than that. And so if you fail to begin the class altogether, so if you're here right now, congratulations, you began the class. If you cease participation for 2 consecutive weeks, this means if you don't email me, you don't log on to the class on Blackboard, you don't submit an assignment, you have gone MIA for 2 straight weeks. Or if you miss more than 5 class periods, I will have the authority to withdraw you from the class. Okay, and so if there's something going on, you do get sick or something, you don't have to tell me everything. Just say, if you even email me and say, hey, I got sick, it doesn't have to be with COVID. There's other ways to get sick. But if you do get sick or something happened, you can just send me a quick email, and I know you're still intending to participate in the class, but you're just kind of gotten yourself into a not ideal situation. You're sick or something. But everything's hunky-dory. There should be no reason, that we're online, that we're doing this right now. So I know the library has lots of different places. A few of you are already at the library right now. So if you need to be there, you can be there, kind of watch it and stuff. And also I have classroom. Please log on within the first 15 minutes of class. There will be a lot. If you do turn in at 8:15, there will still be a lot that you miss. But I am having this in case somebody is sitting there trying to figure out their computer. It's not logging on. The internet's not working. You can't figure it out. If something's going on with that, I give that 15-minute wiggle room just in case, your internet's not the greatest at the moment. Plagiarism, don't do it. If you take somebody else's work and say that it's your own, then that's plagiarism. And so that means not citing a source at all. That means not putting something in quotes. So if you have a quote that you're using from somebody else and you don't put it in quotes, you don't provide an in-text citation, or if you summarize their work but don't give them credit for it. Okay, I have seen plagiarism be a sentence before. I have seen plagiarism be an entire page. I'm not somebody who's malicious. I'm not going to go hunt it down. Actually, that's quite exhausting for me. But if I see something and that looks like it came straight from a dictionary, or if I see something and that one sentence has completely different language and word choice than the entire rest of the page, I'm gonna go ahead and Google it because it just seems weird. And so if I do catch you plagiarizing, the best case scenario will be that the assignment is failed. Most of the time, there's one exception to this, but most of the time when I've caught somebody plagiarizing, it means that they actually failed the class, because most of the time, for some reason, I've caught plagiarism in the very last paper of the semester, which is worth 25% of the grade. So unless that person had an A+ already, that meant they ended up failing. And so that's not something you want to do. Worst case scenario, if it comes down to the college getting involved, something else happens, it could be worse. It could mean you fail the class. It could mean you fail out of a program if more than one teacher has caught you. I've never heard of that happening personally with me, but it could technically happen. If I see something if plagiarism happens more than once, I will have to report that to the college. But don't plagiarize. Keep your words are your words, and if somebody else, their words are sacred, they wrote them, give them credit for it. If you need help with this is what I'm here for. We're going to learn throughout this all semester. But by the end of the semester, we should have a pretty solid idea of how to cite and how to integrate quotes. Breakdown of the points. All the points are out of 1,000. And so if, this is worth 5% of 1,050 points, that's the general breakdown. Complex book entries, there are 6 of them. They are worth 25 points each. So that's 150 points altogether. So if you don't turn it's just one in, and not great. It might hurt your grade, but if you don't turn all of them in, that's 15% of your grade. That's just gone. And so narrative essay, that's the first one. That's worth 100 points, 200 points, and then the last paper is worth 250 points. And then there's a lot of these smaller assignments that are worth 50 points as well. So this all adds up to 1,000. I do keep grades on Blackboard as we go along throughout the semester. So if any point during the semester you don't want to know where your grade is, you go to Blackboard, go under my grades, and you would be able to see it as long as I have graded it already. I typically like to grade soon. I always say try to give me at least 2 weeks to grade it. I have 6 classes this semester, so it might take me that much, if not a little bit longer. I do my absolute best to get it as soon as possible, but things might take a little bit longer. So if you just turn something in the day before, please don't email me and say, hey, where's this assignment graded? 24 hours isn't long enough for me to grade it. So give me time. I also grade assignments as they come in. So Blackboard just naturally does that. So if you have, if you turn something in first, you'll have it graded first. And I can't guarantee I'm going to grade everything in one sitting. So grading breakdown for this is pretty general. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, and so on and so forth. So by the end of the semester, you'll have that grading breakdown. Also, I forgot to say something. I'm going to go back up to the top under the coursework overview. The portfolio, you're going to have that at the end of the semester. Again, it's kind of like a final test or final exam, but not being a test. You will have the opportunity to revise your formal essays at the end of the semester. Don't let that be a reason why you don't work hard on the papers now, because I know that most of you probably aren't, this isn't your only class. So you're probably going to be studying for other tests, working at other assignments. If this is your first semester of college, I promise you the end of the semester is quite hectic. I did a lot of school. I've been teaching for a long time, and so it's a little bit crazy. So I would, that's supposed to be and intended to be a fallback. If you worked really hard over the semester and you still didn't get, the grade you wanted, you have a do-over. But don't intend to just wait to the end of the semester, because that's only for the formal essays. It's not for anything else. So if you just bank on that, not going to work out. And then I have some other, these are from the college, disability support services. So if there's accommodation you need for the class that I can help you with, please email me, let me know, ideally within the first week of class. If I don't know something, I can't help you, but just let me know and I can definitely work with you the best of my ability. Writing lab, Hillsborough and Arnold both have a writing lab that you can go to for advice, and both the writing lab and the OWL, so online writing lab, where you can send a paper and they can give you feedback. To my knowledge, both of these are staffed by English teachers at Jeffco. So they're not, some of them I think might be student workers, but I think the vast majority of them, if not all of them, are staffed by English teachers. So if you need help, they might not be able to give you all the help in the world for your paper, but say if you're having trouble with citations and you say, I need help doing this, they're going to be able to help you with it. Or if you need help with your thesis statement, they're going to help you with that a little bit more. But definitely feel free to send me your paper. I do request, or actually require, if you do need to email me a paper to get commentary, to do so a week before the assignments due. Again, I have a lot of classes. I'm going to have a lot of things going on. It's just like most of you are. Give me time to do it. And then also when I do it, you have time to revise based on those comments. So I'm very happy to read anybody's essays throughout the semester, but want that to be a week before something's due. And most of the papers are going to have like 3 to 4 weeks to do everything. Some other stuff. This is outside of class, academically related activities. That's just saying you should be doing work outside of this hour and 15 minutes. So doing homework, it's not just going to be time spent during this class period, but outside of it. So these all of it, what I've talked about, has been a policy. So that means that's not going to change. So that policy, think of it as a contract between you all and me. These policies, so if you're confused, what's the attendance policy, everything, that's what I'm going to go by throughout the semester. So I have this note here. If you remain in this section, you're indicating to me that you have read, will adhere to, and understand all these policies. So if you have a question, go to that index at the top of the syllabus, go throughout the syllabus, look at it, remember, you can answer these questions. If you have another question outside of that, I'm very happy to answer it. But any policies, kind of make sure you hold on to this for the rest of the semester. It's going to be really important. And then I have the schedule at the bottom, and the schedule is going to be really important as well. This could change. So above the schedule, not going to change. Schedule below, could. Typically, I don't change it that much, but this is a new semester, so we're online. I have no idea. We'll figure it out. But right now I have the schedule as of now is going to be what we're doing. All readings other than, I should have said other than the textbook, but other than the textbook are going to be under that assigned to readings tab. If you see something that says BG, that means Bedford Guide to College Writing, means your textbook. Okay, so everything that I have to do here, that's going to be due on the date that I have it listed. So this complex book entry number 1 is going to be due next Tuesday, the 25th. That doesn't mean it's homework for the following day or the following class period. This is the assignment, okay? And this is when it's due, 7:59. I should have put AM. I have AM down here, but that's AM, right? The minute before class starts. I have that the minute before class starts, so you have absolutely as much time as you need right before class starts. It's literally right up to the wire. Don't be turning it in during class. That tells me you're not necessarily in class, but make sure you're turning it in before class starts. If you need a textbook, textbook services or the bookstore, I guess, would be at Jeffco. They would be able to help you out a little bit. I'm not sure if they have online versions of this. I have an online version of it sent by the publisher, but I don't know how that would work. The bookstore would be the person to talk to in that case. But I have like page numbers, so this would be the page number for that textbook. And then I have, so we're going to have 4 complex book entries. And I have like scheduled one-on-one conferences that we will talk about later, a peer review, and then that's a due date for the first paper. I only have up to the first paper here because if something does change within the schedule, I don't want you to be completely overwhelmed knowing that every assignment due date has been changed. I do have it done. My schedule is finished, but I never want everybody to get overwhelmed if I have to change everything. So I only have between now and when the first essay is finished, which is just about a month from now. I will assign that on next Tuesday, so next week. I will talk about that. And so we're going to have everything go on. So if you ever want to know what we're doing in a class period, I don't have all of the details done, but I have the reading that we're going to do on Blackboard. So even if you can't, even if for some reason you can't log on to class that day, you still can turn it in. You still should be able to turn in that homework. You got the whole weekend to do it. And so reading that chapter, and then doing that complex book entry. And again, on Thursday, I'm going to talk about that complex book entry assignment sheet a lot more in depth. Today, it's just kind of getting the feel of it. But I have the assignment sheet on Blackboard. I have the complex book entry tab on Blackboard. I have, and I have, the syllabus, which is roughly talks about it a little bit too. Anybody have any questions about anything? That's a lot I just talked about. I know it was kind of fast, just about half an hour of me talking about it. So I'm going to stay silent for a minute. So if anybody wants to turn on their mic or say something or put something in the chat, now's the time to do that. Okay, so kind of waited a minute. If you do have a question about this class or anything, please feel free to email me or request to set up a one-on-one conference. I'm very happy to help everybody. Unfortunately, I can't gauge your reactions because we're not in a classroom. But if you have any questions, please let me know. We are going to have class again on Thursday. You should be using the same link you used today. So if you need any help or need a class code, I'm not sure how that works, but I can just send me an email. I can kind of work with you on that. Okay, I'm going to call it. It's 9:15. So have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all again on Thursday. This is Nia. Sure.